in certain areas of China, they've never seen like an African before, even a black person before.
So is that, do you think that's curiosity of a people who haven't seen these people, or do you think that's a sort of racism? So is that, do you think that's curiosity of a people who haven't seen these people, or do you think that's a sort of racism?
I think sometimes it's both, because you experience a situation where someone will actually just look at you like, because they have certain mentality of Africans. Basically, they think we're lazy. If you were to go through their, they have their apps, right? It's called WeChat. So if you go through them, there are some people who just say, if an African or even a black person were to post a video, if you go through the comments, you would probably hate Chinese people. But I guess every country has this set of people. Yeah. Generally, I won't say that Africans are racist, but then there are people, maybe they're not comfortable being around other races. So I think it depends. It could be racism, it could be curiosity. Some of them really just want to know, but then some of them, they just have that mentality and they don't want to be associated with you.
Okay, now from China, you moved to the United States. So two things. First, after 3 years in China, were you feeling like, oh, I can't wait to leave, I can't wait to get out of here? Or were you thinking, oh, this could be my second home, this could be my home, I'll be here forever, I'll get married if you want to get married, I'll have kids if you want to have kids, I will build my house if you want to build a house, Did you think, what was,
at a certain point it got really depressing, so to say. Not depressing that affect you, but it became a routine. Because the truth is, in China, foreigners are not allowed to work. If you're a student, you cannot work. If you're a student, it's illegal. So if you're working, it's against the law. That's why if a student is working on a student visa, then they try to hide from the police, because if they catch you, they'll fine you.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think at a certain point it just gets boring. Not depressing, but actually I think the word is boring, because you wake up, especially during vacation, right? You wake up, you do your normal stuff, and then you sit, you look at your room, you watch movie, you sleep.
You're repeating stuff. Yeah, but is there no large community of other Africans there?
Okay,
that would make that situation a bit better?
I think what happened was the COVID happened, right?
Oh yeah, you were still during the COVID period.
Yeah, and most people went home. So you see that maybe the Africans on campus, they're less Africans now. Yeah, because people went home and they weren't allowed to go back
why
to
didn't
school.
you? I mean, during the COVID, there was so much news coming out, especially from China. How did you contend with that?
No, I think some of the, media just exaggerates things. Yeah, I don't think it was, to a certain extent, I think when it first started it was bad, but China, on a serious note, they did very well trying to contain the situation, especially the schools, because if anything happens to any international student, it's the school's responsibility. So they did very well. Although we weren't allowed to go out, we weren't allowed to, they were even buying our groceries for us at my school. I'll speak for my school because I don't.
What's the name of this your school?
Oh, it's
that seems to be you're rating them pretty high.
Honestly, it's actually rated pretty high if you check it.
Okay, what's the name of the school?
It's China University of Mining and Technology.
Oh, it's a specialized university.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they have one in Beijing and one in Suzhou. So yeah, they did our grocery shopping for us. In terms of that, I think they took our safety seriously. But my mom didn't allow me to go home. I actually wanted to go home when the COVID first started, but then she raised a good point. If you were to come home and then the COVID hits Liberia, China is more equipped to handle this situation compared to Liberia. So she's like, I don't want you to come home. So thinking about it, I was like, yeah, she's stating a good point, and that's how I stayed there. Yeah, but during the COVID,
I can imagine being there during the COVID. You were probably in your 20.
Yeah, I was like
21, 20.
Yeah.
20, I guess.
18, 19, 20, yeah, around there.
I mean,
Yeah,
that could
20.
be very boring.
Yeah, it was boring because it was just a complete shift of routine. People were now sleeping during the day and awake during the night. So if you were to walk on the campus, right, you walk around the campus during the afternoon, maybe around 12 to, it's like no one is there. You feel like you're the only person there. Even if you shout, you will hear the echo. But then at night, that's when you see, people are there. Everybody's playing games. I think we took the situation pretty nice because, but then it got to a point where they're like, we're not allowed to go to each other's room because we have to keep distance and stuff like that. But I think it was bad, but the way the media made it, I think it was just.
Well, I mean, aside the political part of it, a lot of people died. And
yeah, people died, that's for sure. But then one thing that impressed me was the fact that they built a hospital in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that. Everyone saw that in the news. I mean, that's marvelous.
That's
unbelievable. That's really unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, talking about you leaving China, what was the reason why you left?
Yeah, I mean, not everything that glitters is gold.
Okay,
So,
tell us you've been talking about the gold.
Yeah,
let's talk about the silver.
Yeah, every situation has, pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
For me, the restriction on, working or not having.
Well, I mean,
to earn money.
when you're done with school,
Mm-hmm.
what are the chances of getting a job in China? What are the chances of regularizing your migration? What are the chances of, being a permanent resident and a citizen, a Chinese?
No, they're very low. Already they have like a huge population. You cannot like maybe try to become a Chinese citizen. I think no, they don't do that.
Okay.
But then
So you cannot be a Chinese if you're not Chinese.
yeah, if you're not basically you can't be a Chinese if you're not Chinese. But then let me see. I think what happens is if you're a teacher, right? Maybe they because right now they're trying to learn English, diversify.
Yeah.
So they hire more
English teachers. I mean,
Yeah.
I get to learn about that because I have this American friend who just moved to China last week
Yeah.
to teach English.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing. So you can have your your work permit and do that. But in terms of settling down, I think if your Chinese is really good, because Chinese is is different. What they teach us in class isn't actually what you hear people speaking in the like the communities.
Okay, the formal Chinese and the everyday language.
And the everyday language is different. So if you can really speak Chinese, it's easy for you to have a job. But in terms of my major, right, like mining and maybe other majors, it's difficult that after graduation.
But China is doing a lot of mining all over the world, even in Africa.
Yeah.
There is Chinese. You go
But
to
there's-
mines in Nigeria is handled by Chinese, gold mine
Yeah.
and whatever.
Yeah, but the major thing is language barrier.
How good is your Chinese?
I can have basic conversation and maybe try to understand.
Okay, let's
what
speak.
someone-
Let's speak. Ni hao. How is that funny?
Okay. Ni hao.
I think you said ni hao, ma.
Okay. Ni hao. Ni hao.
I'm not
Okay.
conversing
Yeah.
anymore. I'm not conversing anymore. So, okay, you looked at the limitations when it comes to migration, job.
Yeah,
You decided
job.
that you have to leave.
Yeah.
So, considering that aspect of Chinese or the China economy or the China immigration situation, do you think how can someone who wants to stay there for a long time, how can one do it?
I mean,
Or this, you think?
if you're doing business, that's okay. Like people who are doing business in China, I think, they make a lot of money. But the major thing in China is knowing the language. The language, especially if you're not in like the big cities where to do their export and import. So if you're not in those cities, because that's why they have more foreigners. So the chances are most Chinese, if not most of them, but you find Chinese that can speak English. But if you're in a city that's pretty restricted and stuff like that,
In the
then-
rural, they don't speak English.
no,
It's just Chinese.
I went on some sort of field trip once. I was the only foreigner there, so to say, and I was the only black person there, and I was the only one who could speak English. And everybody there, even if you try to speak Chinese, they don't understand because Chinese is complicated. You have to use tones and you have to just follow, like, it's just a lot of mechanics that can confuse you. So even if you try to speak Chinese, the person you're talking to is like, what are you saying? They can't understand, you know. So it's in that aspect it's difficult. But then getting like work status or whatever, it just really depends on if you can speak Chinese or not. People that can speak
But I mean,
Chinese.
but that's fair. I mean, that's fair. In many countries whose official language is not English, they will need you to know the official language.
Know their language. Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's fair.
That's pretty fair. But for a student who wants to regularize from student to permanent residence to citizenship, that might not be an option for you.
No, it's not.
So when you decide to leave, you chose United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
This, a big change.
Yeah,
it is. And you know that China and the US,
yeah,
the balance is not.
It's not balancing. The balance is not balancing.
Exactly. What did you move? Why did you move?
Okay, so I had a couple of options.
Okay.
Because I talked to one of my professors. He's originally from South Africa, but then he's been in the US for I don't know how long. Yeah. So when I talked to him, he told me about the major countries.
You knew this professor when you were in China?
Yeah, he's actually he taught us online. He taught us work mechanics. Yeah, he's a white guy. So he does work mechanics. They hire him because I don't know.
When you were a student in Chinese school?
Yeah. Okay. So they do have international professors, but then there are a few of them. So he was the one teaching us, and he would normally tell us about situations outside China. So he told us like, oh, if you're doing mining, some of the best countries would be the U.S. Canada, Australia, maybe South Africa, I guess.
All are far from you.
Far from me, yeah, exactly. So I started doing my research because at that point I didn't want to stay there because I don't want to be a professor.
Oh, okay.
In mining, I don't want to be a professor. Yeah, I'm not saying being a professor is bad, but for me personally,
you wanted to be
I want to be in the industry. Yeah, just to know and understand what it's like. Especially, it's not something that's it's funny how my country has a lot of mineral resources, but then you can't even count the number of mining engineers from there. Yeah. So
that's not unique to your country. It's a problem all over Africa where you see there are minerals to be mined. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, Nigeria will have gold, and those mining the gold are Chinese.
Exactly.
We have iron ore. We have so many minerals. There are numerous minerals.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unfortunate situation, but thank God we have you.
Exactly, I'm here.
Mining engineer.
Yeah, so
certified. So you moved to the US and you're doing mining here too.
Yeah, because I can actually tell the difference between studying mining in China and studying mining in the US.
What's the difference? I'm curious. I mean, for someone who is not in the field of mining, for someone like me, what could be the difference?
Firstly, learning software. Learning software here is a thing because, that's the reality of the mining industry. You need to know software. But in China, it was mostly theoretical than it was practical, right? And China main source of energy is coal. So we studied coal mining. That was what they focused on because that's what they know. But here is general. What you're learning here, you can apply it in any mineral industry. Exactly. So we didn't really learn a lot of software in China. We learned theory. Yes, it was good. It's actually interesting in terms of coal mining. But then here you're learning software like MapTech Vulkan. I never knew MapTech Vulkan until I came here. And it's been interesting because in that course we're learning how to estimate, resources. So if you get your data, put it in the software, you can tell, okay, how much stones you can mine and how long you can mine and even the profit that you can get. So that's pretty interesting.
Let's talk about the migrating from China to the US. How, and for someone from West Africa, what was the migration process? Was it as simple and as seamless as you've experienced previously in the Chinese Liberia?
No, it wasn't. This time I had to do my own research. I I had to do my own everything.
You were already an engineer, so then you were just a teenager. So I think there's a big difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference. So this time I did my own research. No one helped me to do, oh, I'll apply for you or I'll do this. No, I did everything on my own. And that's one thing I am grateful for in China, which is the same thing in the US. You have internet connection, like
the resources.
Yeah, the resources. So there's no like excuse. So I did my own research. Coming here, I did my application on my own. And one important thing is to always ask questions if you don't understand the school you're going to or you plan to go to. Ask questions, or if you can find someone at the school, you ask them, because you don't know what the actual situation is. For me, at that time, I didn't know anybody that was at this school. So my only point of connection was, emailing the office.
Oh, okay.
So that was what I did. If I didn't understand something, I would email them, ask them. And Michigan Tech was very helpful. I think that's one of the reasons I chose Michigan Tech, because the relationship with the students, you can tell that they actually have a good, student-teacher relationship, I guess. And then their response, the way they reply to your email, you can tell that, yeah, it's very welcoming here. That was one of the things. Sometimes I know schools are busy. I'm not denying that.
Let's talk about more focus to your relationship, which has been left for so long. Your relationship with Africa, your relationship with going back home. I mean, being far away from home for 4 or 5 years now. How do you connect with home? Being in the diaspora for so long, even starting as a child. I mean, your mom saw you last as her child.
Yeah.
Your mom is gonna welcome you back as this adult who I don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
How much changes have happened?
I mean, I don't know how it's gonna be. I don't know how it's gonna be, but we still talk, and I don't think like you can ever, I love being an African. I would never change it for anything. So even being here or being away from home for a very long time doesn't change the fact. And I do plan to go home.
When? This year, next year, 2 years time, 5 years time, 10 years time?
Maybe in 2 years. I mean, I want to go
Why
home.
2 years?
Because I want to go home with money.
Oh. How much money is enough?
I don't know, but as long as...
No, amount is enough. Once you can afford your flight tickets.
Also, staying home, I mean, like you said, my mom is not going to see me as a child anymore. Also, I don't want to stay with my mom. I want, if I go there, at least I should be in my own place, not staying with her.
I mean, you're not staying forever, especially if you're still doing your graduate program in the US. So you could just stay for a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks with your mom, like a child. So she will remember you as the child.
No.
You want to just go as this adult who has her own place.
No, not like that. I mean, when I go there, I don't want to be her responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't want to be her responsibility. I want to, take care of myself. But if it's like, oh, mom, let's go out today, it's my treat. She's no longer taking care of me, but then I'm taking care of her. So I do plan to go.
So who is taking care of you in the US? You taking care of you, or still the same? Because after the Chinese scholarship ended, you graduated, you become an engineer, you moved to the US. So who started taking care of you again?
For me, I love scholarships. But I think being here, my brother is here. So he's taking care of, I'm taking care of myself as well, but my brother contributes and my aunt.
They support you?
Yeah. But
so it's like family is supporting you?
Okay. But not my mom. I told her when I'm doing my master's, I don't want you to support me anymore. I'll take care of myself.
I'm an adult.
Yeah. So that's my mom, but yeah, my friend.
Well, it's good to actually listen to your journey. I mean, moving from, at a very young age. I moved abroad as an adult. I didn't move as a child or as a teenager. So it's kind of a different experiences for me.
Okay, so
we are going to invite Rapheka once again. And this time around, it will be in Chinese.
Hey. I'll have earphones so that whenever you say something, then the Chinese person will just translate. then I'll say.
So thank you so much for being part of this session. I think she's a good storyteller. Please, in the comment section, strictly talk about Chinese and China.
Yes. And mining engineering, if you're a mining engineer.
Or in the United States too, because we are in the US right now, and she's here, not going back to China anytime soon. Unless going on as a
vacation or something.
Oh, you go to China for
Yes,
vacation?
yes. I actually do plan to. Maybe after like 5 years, I'll go back.
You have to live in Liberia for 2 years first. That's a condition.
Yes.
We have to reintroduce you to Pan-Africanism. We have to reignite the true Africanism in you, inside of you, somewhere in the heart.
But it's still here. I'm going home, that's for sure. I'm going home.
So thank you so much for being part of our show.
No, thank you, Genius. Thank you for inviting me. It was nice talking to you guys. And don't forget to what? Like, comment, and subscribe.
I like that.
Yeah, I've always forget to say that.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, see ya.
Bye, guys.